I shouldn't have noticed her the way I did. She was just shelving returns, quiet, methodical, the kind of movement that didn't ask to be seen. But there was something about her silence that pulled the air tighter around us, like the room itself had decided to hold its breath. She wore her hair pinned up, a few strands slipping free near her temple. Every time she reached for a high shelf, the light brushed her skin like it knew her better than anyone else. I pretended to read, but the words didn't land. I kept looking up instead, kept finding her eyes. The first time she caught me staring, she didn't smile. Just tilted her head slightly, like she was trying to place me, figure out whether I was trouble or just lost. I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but she pressed a finger to her lips. No talking, she mouthed. That should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Every few minutes, she'd drift closer, sliding books onto shelves near me. The faint smell of her perfume, something floral, understated, lingered long after she moved away. I tried to focus on the page in front of me, but the letters blurred into lines. She moved differently from anyone my age. No rush. No apology. When she turned, her hand brushed the edge of the table, then the back of mine. Not enough to call it a touch. Just enough to make the air crackle. I looked up. She was already walking away, spine straight, gaze somewhere else. But she knew. It wasn't just me feeling it. It couldn't be. When she returned, she placed a stack of books down in front of me. You shouldn't sit here, she said softly. Her voice was calm, low, like a note you could almost miss if you weren't listening for it. Why not? I asked. She glanced over my shoulder, toward the other end of the library, where no one was paying attention. Because I'll forget where I am, she said, half to herself. The silence after that wasn't empty. It was thick, like sound would have broken something fragile between us. I watched her fingers as she adjusted a misaligned book spine, the simple care she gave it. The way her thumb lingered on the cover a second too long. She noticed me noticing. Then she said, "You're too young to read this one," and slid the book toward me. Her tone was teasing, but her eyes said something different. Something uncertain, almost afraid of being seen. I smiled, trying to ease it. You don't even know what I like. She hesitated, looking straight at me. I can guess. And just like that, everything in the room changed temperature. The hum of the old lights, the rustle of pages from a distant table, even the whisper of her shoes against the carpet, it all blurred into the background. There was only her, standing close enough for me to feel the faint warmth from her skin. I didn't move. Neither did she. She looked at me like she wanted to say something and then didn't. Her lips parted slightly, then pressed together again. I caught the smallest tremor in her hand as she reached for another book that wasn't there. Then, somewhere behind us, a door creaked open. Her expression changed, something shuddered behind her calm. She stepped back, smoothing her skirt, tucking that stray lock of hair behind her ear. "Back to reading," she said quietly. And just like that, she was gone between the shelves. But the space she left behind, it still felt warm where she'd been standing the next afternoon. I told myself I wasn't coming back for her. I told myself it was just the quiet, the kind that doesn't exist anywhere else in this town. But when I walked through the double doors and saw her again, that excuse fell apart fast. She was at the counter, sorting returns, her reading glasses perched halfway down her nose. A streak of sunlight from the tall window made her hair glow like something alive. She looked up, caught me standing there, and said nothing. Just one raised eyebrow, a silent question. I shrugged, pretending indifference. Needed a place to study. Again, she said, her mouth curving slightly, like she didn't buy it. Guess I like the atmosphere. She stacked the last of the books and came around the counter. You'll have to stay quiet. I meant it last time. Her tone was even, but there was something softer underneath, like she was warning herself more than me. I watched her move through the aisles, stopping every few seconds to fix something no one else would have noticed was wrong. She was meticulous. Calm. And somehow that calm made me restless. When she reached the row I was sitting in, she leaned past me to slide a book onto the shelf. The fabric of her sleeve brushed my arm, barely, but enough to make me forget how to breathe. She froze for half a second. Then kept moving, pretending not to notice. I looked up. You always fix things that aren't broken? Her voice was quiet. Only when they're out of place. She was talking about books, maybe. But her hand was trembling slightly, and her eyes avoided mine. Later, when the place was nearly empty, she sat across from me with a stack of forms. Her glasses slipped again, and this time she didn't bother fixing them. You're here a lot, she said. I could say the same. That's my job, she replied, but there was a faint smile. Then, after a pause, don't you have somewhere better to be? Friends, classes, someone waiting? Not really. That made her look up. Just for a second. A flicker of something recognition, maybe loneliness, crossed her face. Lucky you, she murmured. You still have time to decide who you'll be. Don't you? I asked. Her laugh was soft and tired. That window closed a while ago. She reached for another paper, but her hand hesitated midair. I caught a thin silver band on her ring finger, no diamond, no shine, just a faint line where one used to be. She noticed me noticing and pulled her hand back, folding it under her arm. That's ancient history, she said. The air between us thickened again. I wanted to ask more, but she didn't look like she wanted to be asked. So I just nodded and started gathering my things. When I stood, one of my notebooks slid off the table. She bent to grab it at the same time I did, and our hands met halfway. Her fingers were warm. Too warm. Neither of us moved. Then she whispered, barely audible, you really shouldn't make a habit of this. Coming here? I asked. Her eyes met mine, steady now, but her voice cracked slightly when she said, making me remember what that feels like. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was dangerous. And when I finally stepped back, she didn't. She just looked at me for a long moment, like she wanted to say something she'd regret. Then she turned away, pretending to straighten the stack of papers again, her breath unsteady in the quiet. But when I left that evening, her voice followed me softly through the echo of the hall. Same time tomorrow? The next time I saw her, the library felt different. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was the way she avoided looking at me for the first hour, even though I could feel when she was near. The air between the aisles carried her perfume again, that same quiet scent that made me lose my place on the page. When she finally spoke, it wasn't to me. It was to someone else, a younger woman at the counter, cheerful, loud, unbothered. I caught fragments of their conversation. New volunteer, just helping with cataloging. Oh, he's here a lot. Her tone stayed light, professional. But when her coworker glanced my way, her posture stiffened just slightly, as if trying to create a line between us that hadn't been there yesterday. When the other woman finally left for lunch, the silence that followed felt too intimate. Too aware. She approached my table, holding a clipboard like a shield. You shouldn't sit by the front anymore. It's distracting. For who? She didn't answer right away. For me, she said at last, her voice quieter now. I should have left it at that. But she didn't move, and neither did I. Then maybe you should tell me to stop coming, I said. Her eyes flickered, a flash of surprise, of something unspoken. Would you listen if I did? No, the way she exhaled then, half laugh, half defeat, said more than anything else. She looked at the empty seat across from me, hesitated, and sat. For a while, we said nothing. Just the sound of a clock ticking near the window. Then she asked, what do you think people would say? I looked up. If they saw us? She nodded. That I'm reading too much, I said, trying to make her smile again. It worked, barely, a small twitch at the corner of her mouth. But then she looked away, voice tightening. They'd say I should know better. I wanted to reach across the table then, but I didn't. My hand stopped an inch from hers. She noticed. She always noticed. Her breath caught a soft, involuntary sound. Then, almost under it, the sound of footsteps. She jerked her hand back just as her coworker returned through the door. I forgot my phone. The woman stopped mid-sentence when she saw us. Just a brief look, curious, nothing more, and then she was gone again. But the moment left something raw behind. Neither of us spoke until the door shut again. She turned to me, eyes sharp now, all that softness locked behind glass. You can't be here this late. It's not appropriate. Because someone might think something? She stood, gathering papers she didn't need to move. Because I might. That landed between us, heavy, honest. She started to walk away, but I stood too, following without thinking. She stopped near the end of the aisle. The light fell on her hair, catching silver near her ear. I reached out before I could stop myself, fingers brushing the edge of her sleeve. She turned, close enough that I could feel her breath faint, uneven. Her eyes flicked to my lips, then away again. Neither of us spoke. The space between us pulsed, one heartbeat, two. Then she stepped back, voice low, shaking just slightly. If you don't go now, I won't stop you next time. And for a long second, neither of us moved. It started with rain. Hard, sudden, uninvited, hammering against the library windows like it was trying to get in. The storm hit just before closing, and the few people left scattered, leaving the place nearly empty. She moved through the aisles, locking up, hair damp at the edges, cardigan pulled close. I was still at the back table, pretending to read, watching her instead. You need to go, she called over, not unkindly. They'll close the gates soon. Then you'll be stuck here too, I said. She smiled faintly. I live 5 minutes away. Still, I said, standing. It's pouring. She sighed, glancing out the window. I've been caught in worse. But when thunder cracked close enough to shake the panes, she flinched, small, quick, like something from long ago. She tried to hide it, but I saw. I stepped closer. Hey, I'm fine, she said, too quickly. She wasn't. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the light switch. The air felt charged, not just from the storm. Let me wait with you, I said. She hesitated, then nodded once. Just until it settles. The lights dimmed except for one lamp by the reading table. The rest of the library sank into shadow, shelves rising like quiet walls around us. She sat, shoulders drawn tight. I sat across from her, trying not to stare. The sound of rain filled the silence. After a while she said, You remind me of someone I used to know. Someone who thought I was more interesting than I really was. You're not exactly forgettable, I said. She looked up, eyes sharp. That's not a compliment. It's the truth. Her gaze softened, but only a little. You shouldn't say things like that. Why not? Because I'll believe you. That line cracked something open between us. She didn't look away this time. I reached across the table, brushing a strand of wet hair from her cheek. My hand lingered, not bold, just unthinking. Her skin was cool, her breath warm. She didn't move. Don't, she whispered. But her voice had lost its edge. You want me to stop? Her eyes flicked to my mouth, then back up. I want that, she said. But right now I don't. She stood abruptly, knocking her chair slightly out of place. I followed her to the aisle, heart thudding too loud in the quiet. She turned on me, not angry, just unraveling. You think this is simple? You think I don't see what this looks like? I don't care what it looks like. Well, I do. Her voice broke. I've spent years being careful. Measured. And then you show up, and suddenly she stopped, hands trembling at her sides. Suddenly you're what? I asked quietly. Her breath caught. The space between us vanished as she stepped closer, so close I could feel the rise and fall of her chest. I'm not supposed to feel this, she said. Not for you. I whispered, then don't say it. She looked at me for a long second, every emotion she'd been holding and flickering across her face, fear, hunger, regret. Then she lifted her hand, fingers brushing the side of my face, tracing down to my jaw. You should leave now, she said. But she didn't step back. Her thumb lingered at the corner of my mouth, trembling slightly. The rain outside softened, but inside everything held still breath, thought, restraint. And then a sound. The sharp jingle of keys at the front door. She froze. Our eyes locked. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. Don't say a word. But her hand, it didn't move the next morning. I told myself I wouldn't go. I meant it, too. I made it halfway through the day before the silence got too heavy, that strange kind that carries her voice in it, even when she's nowhere near. When I finally walked in, she was already watching the door. Like she'd been expecting me. Her expression was unreadable, polite, professional, but her fingers twisted the edge of a return slip over and over until it nearly tore. You shouldn't be here, she said softly. I know. She waited, maybe for me to explain why I came anyway. I didn't. The truth sat between us, unspoken and reckless. Then she sighed. We need to talk. Those 4 words, I hated how they made my stomach drop. She gestured toward the back office. Not out here. Inside, the air was different, warmer, closer, smelling faintly of old books and her perfume. She shut the door behind us. I wasn't honest with you, she said finally, not looking up. I waited. I said I was divorced, she continued. I am. But it's recent. Too recent. Her voice cracked slightly, barely there. He still calls sometimes. Still checks in. And if he found out I was, she stopped herself, biting the inside of her lip. I stepped closer. You're not doing anything wrong. That's not how it would look. Her hand brushed the desk, searching for something to hold on to. He knows people here. And if he thought she stopped again, unable to say it. The silence after was brutal. I could hear the faint hum of the air vent, her breathing uneven. Finally, she said, he came by yesterday. After you left. That hit like a jolt. Here? She nodded. He saw your notebook on the table. My coworker said we seemed close. I took a step back, chest tight. And what did you tell him? She looked up, eyes glossy but steady. That you're a student. Nothing more. It shouldn't have hurt. But it did. Do you mean that? I asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. Her jaw tightened, her hand trembled as she reached for a stack of papers just to have something to do. I meant it enough to keep you safe, she said finally. I stepped closer, close enough that her breath hit my throat. That's not all you meant. Her eyes flicked to mine, wide, conflicted. Don't do this, she whispered. Not when I'm trying to stop. You don't sound like you want to. That made her flinch, not from anger, but from truth. She moved past me toward the door, but I caught her wrist, not hard, just enough to stop her. She froze, head turned away, pulse trembling against my fingers. Tell me you don't think about it, I said. About us. Her shoulders rose with a shaky breath. You think I sleep at night? The words hit harder than any confession could. She turned then fast, impulsive, and the space between us disappeared. Her hand pressed against my chest as if to push me away, but she didn't. Her face was inches from mine, eyes glistening, lips parted in something between defiance and need. You need to go, she whispered, voice breaking. Say it like you mean it. Her throat worked around the words. If you stay, I'll stop pretending. That was the moment, the point of no return, hanging between us like a held breath. Outside, a phone rang somewhere, hers, vibrating on the desk. The caller ID lit the name she couldn't say. She looked at it. Then at me. And instead of answering, she reached forward and locked the door. The rain had stopped, but the sound still clung to the air, that soft after silence that comes when the world has just finished breaking. The door was locked. Her phone still buzzed faintly on the desk. She didn't reach for it. Neither did I. She stood with her back to me, one hand pressed against the wood, shoulders trembling like she was holding the weight of something she couldn't name. You shouldn't be here, she said again, but it came out like a prayer that had already lost its faith. I know. I took one slow step forward. Then another. Until the space between us felt like something alive, breathing. Her voice dropped. If I turn around, I won't stop you, I said. She let out a quiet, unsteady laugh. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Her hand fell from the door. She turned. The look on her face wasn't the guarded calm she usually wore, it was raw, stripped bare. Years of being careful had left her tired, and right then, she wasn't fighting it anymore. I can't keep pretending, she said. I nodded. Then don't. I reached up, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. My hand lingered longer than it should have, my thumb tracing the faint line of her cheek. She didn't pull away this time. Her breath came shallow. You don't know what this will cost me. Maybe not, I said. But I know what it's already costing you. Her eyes flicked to mine, wide, uncertain. And what's that? Peace. That word landed between us, simple, final. She closed her eyes for a moment, like she was memorizing how that felt to hear. When she opened them again, she stepped closer until I could feel the warmth from her skin, the tremor in her hands. This is wrong, she whispered, voice breaking. Everything about it is wrong. Then tell me to go. She looked up, searching, fighting, and I saw the exact second she realized she couldn't. Her hand found my shirt, fingers curling into the fabric like she needed something solid to hold on to. Her forehead touched mine, the smallest, softest contact, not a kiss, but the moment before one. You'll regret this, she whispered. Maybe, I said. But I'll regret walking away more. We stayed like that, suspended, trembling in the half-light, the world outside forgotten. Then she stepped back, just barely, but enough. Her hand dropped from my chest. You have to leave, she said. Before I make it worse. I swallowed hard. You really want me to? Her eyes glistened. No, it was the most honest thing either of us had said. We stood there in that truth, nothing hidden, nothing left to pretend. And though I turned toward the door, I could still feel the warmth of her palm against my chest, ghosted there like a promise neither of us could keep. Before I stepped out, she said quietly, almost to herself, if you come back tomorrow, I won't stop you. The door clicked behind me, but her words stayed, echoing like a heartbeat that refused to fade. I didn't see her for 3 days. I told myself that was the end of it, that the locked door, the almost, the rain, it all meant nothing now. But every night, I'd find myself replaying her voice in the dark, hearing the soft no that didn't sound like a no at all. On the 4th day, I went back. Not to chase anything, just to stop wondering. The library was quieter than usual. Late afternoon light poured through the high windows, dust drifting like slow snow. She was there, behind the counter, sorting a return cart. Her hair was down this time. When she looked up and saw me, she froze. Then, slowly, that guarded breath left her chest. I thought you wouldn't come back, she said. I almost didn't. She smiled faintly. And yet. I stepped closer. And yet. Neither of us moved for a long moment. Then she set down the book she'd been holding, smoothing the cover with both hands before speaking. I've been thinking about what you said. About peace. Yeah? I think I mistook comfort for peace, she said quietly. They're not the same. Something in the way she said it, soft, certain, told me she'd already made her choice. I came around the counter. She didn't stop me. Up close, she looked tired, but lighter somehow. Like she'd finally exhaled after holding her breath for years. I don't want to keep pretending, she said. I've spent half my life worrying what people think. Maybe it's time I stop. Her voice cracked just a little at the end, and without thinking, I reached for her hand. She let me. Our fingers fit together in that quiet, ordinary way that makes the world feel right again. I don't know where this goes, I said. I just know I want to find out with you. She looked at me, eyes shining, and for once she didn't look away. You're too young to sound that sure. I smiled. Maybe. But you're too smart to keep running from something real. That made her laugh, a small, shaky sound that ended in a sigh. Then she stepped forward, closing the space between us, her forehead resting against mine. There was no rush. No panic this time. Just warmth, breath, closeness. I missed this, she whispered. Being seen. You always were, I said. You just stopped believing it. Her hand rose to my chest, steady now. I covered it with mine. Outside, the sky was turning gold. The storm had left the world washed clean. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. The silence wasn't heavy anymore, it was full. Before I left that evening, she reached for me again, fingers brushing my wrist. Tomorrow, she said softly. Tomorrow, I promised. And when I turned to go, her voice followed, gentle but sure, like she finally trusted it to carry what she meant. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?